15th of February 2023. You're joining us live from Good News Television Nairobi. My name is Beatrice Njeri. Our sign language interpreter is Paul Mathenge. Our topic tonight is mental and maternal health. Did you know that according to the Ministry of Health, over 60% of the Kenyan population comprises adolescents and young adults aged between 10 to 24, and the prevalence of mental health issues among this population is at 10.3%. Engagers and tell us why the youths are affected most when it comes to mental health issues, and what kind of maternal health are we giving our mothers, and what are the risks they are facing. Our SMS line is 21144 and GBS TV Africa in all our social media handles. Later on, I'll be joined virtually by experts on the same, but first let us dive into stories making headlines. The AAR corporate community and its stakeholders marked an important milestone that opened a new chapter in their strategic journey and ushered in a new era in Kenya's healthcare sector. President William Ruto was today the chief guest at the official opening of the AAR hospital at Kiambu Road, Nairobi. The president lauded the investors behind the modern facility, saying the hospital represents a monumental investment. Other delegates present include Peter Tom, Health Principal Secretary, the CEO of AR Group, Steve Okeyo. Also present was the Swedish ambassador to Kenya, Caroline Vicini, and members of the board of the AAR Group. Here are the details. President William Ruto officially opened the AAR hospital early today at Kiambu Road, Nairobi. He was conducted on a tour of the facility by the hospital's board members led by its group CEO, Steve Okeyo. The facility is part of the larger AAR network, which provides quality service to the population of Kenya and Uganda. The AAR hospital is Nairobi's newest hospital and is a level 5 state-of-the-art facility with a capacity of 140 beds, 4 operating theaters, a 12-bed intensive care unit, a 9-bed dependency unit, a modern neonatal ICU. The renal unit has 10 beds with the capacity to dialyze 40 patients in a day. The head of state lauded the investors behind the modern facility, saying the hospital represents a monumental investment. He reiterated his government's commitment to the bottom-up economy model by universal healthcare for all.
The priority of healthcare in our government's agenda for transforming Kenya. Healthcare is not just important, it is fundamental.
Additionally, the president stated that universal healthcare makes medical treatment a public good and a means of increasing the disposable income available to Kenyan households.
Universal healthcare, which makes medical treatment a public good, is a means of increasing the disposable income available to Kenyan households. By drastically minimizing expenditure on health needs, Kenyans will have more savings to invest in goods that enhance well-being and grow their wealth.
Principal Secretary for Medical Services Peter Tum represented the Minister of Health Susan Nakumisha at the function. Also present were the Swedish ambassador to Kenya Caroline Vicini and members of the board of the AAR Group.
I am told that they have 21 facilities around the country, and Your Excellency, in your direction of providing primary health care services, they have not also been left behind.
AAR was actually founded by a Swedish citizen, Bengt Beckman, and his wife, Marika, who is a Kenyan of Polish descent.
Addressing the gathering, Steve Okeyo, the CEO of the AAR Group, said the new hospital started receiving patients on the 19th of July 2021 and currently serves 200 patients a day and employs 180 people, further noting that the facility was built with funds from various donor institutions.
It is a testimony of the great heights that can be achieved where there is goodwill, a conducive environment for investors, and fruitful collaboration with development partners. And it started receiving patients in 2021. It is therefore Nairobi's newest and takes its pride of place as a level 5 state-of-the-art facility with a capacity of 140 beds, 4 operating theaters, a 12-bed intensive care unit.
AAR Healthcare is one of the leading medical service providers in the country, boasting of a large base of outpatient healthcare services in East Africa, with a network of 21 clinics across the country and serving over 300,000 clients annually from across the social divide. This milestone comes as an aid to the health sector, despite many Kenyans facing limited access to healthcare facilities, lack of adequate personnel and expertise to address their medical needs, and poor infrastructure where most facilities do not have proper facilities to handle the medical challenges. Beatrice Njeri, GBS News. For decades now, malaria has been one of the main health issues in the country, with over 6 million cases reported in 2020 alone. According to U.S. President's Malaria Initiative, approximately 70% of Kenya's population is at risk of malaria, with 14 million people in endemic areas and another 17 million in areas epidemic and seasonal malaria. Speaking during the opening of the 4th Kenya National Malaria Forum today in Nairobi, Professor Isabella Oyer, who is the chair of the forum, called for collaboration in fighting the disease. Kabila with the report.
Malaria is one of the main health issues in Kenya. According to the U.S. President's Malaria Initiative, approximately 70% of Kenya's population is at risk of malaria, with 14 million people in endemic areas and another 17 million in areas of epidemic and seasonal malaria. Speaking during the opening of the 4th Kenya National Malaria Forum today in Nairobi, Professor Isabella Oyer, who is the chair of the forum, called for collaboration in fighting the disease.
For those of us who are familiar with the challenges facing malaria control, the journey is bright, given the advances in research towards improving management and control tools. Over the last 2 decades, we have seen a significant reduction in malaria globally, and thus the malaria case burden. However, the progress has stalled, and since 2019, we have seen a rise in malaria cases. Over the next 2 days, let us take the opportunity to brainstorm and share scientific evidence to assess the progress made in malaria control. The overall objective of the Kenya National Malaria Forum 2023 is to discuss, identify, and share research findings and technical updates to provide tangible recommendations as Kenya moves towards pre-elimination and elimination. So the theme of the meeting this year is accelerating towards a malaria-free Kenya through innovations in prevention, therapeutics, and surveillance.
I'll conclude by just asking us to take the next couple of days to celebrate the learning that we've done, the research that we've done, and recommit to focusing our efforts to ending malaria in Kenya by 2030.
According to the latest World Malaria Report, there were 247 million cases of malaria in 2021, compared to 245 million cases in 2020. The estimated number of malaria deaths stood at 619,000 in 2021, compared to 625,000 in 2020. The research also stated that the death of children under 5 had reduced from 87% to 76% in the same year.
Malaria is a disease of serious public health challenge in Kenya. And according to the WHO 2021 report, we had over 247 million cases or infections for malaria, as well as 234 of these being found in Africa. When we look at the global figures for the deaths that we experienced, 619,000 cases, deaths, and out of these, 593,000 were from Africa. This gives us a 96 percentage point for the cases that are found globally. I think this is serious and a cause of concern.
Transmission patterns of the disease in Kenya are influenced by rainfall, vector species, intensity of biting, and altitude. Stable malaria occurs in most parts of coast, Nyanza and western provinces. Transmission is high in these areas, with an average of 1 effective bite per person per week throughout the year. Unstable malaria occurs in areas of low endemicity such as Machakos, Embu and Kitui of Eastern Province, and Marigat and Gromani of Rift Valley Province. Epidemic malaria occurs in highland areas, bordering endemic zones. More than 4 million cases of malaria are reported annually in Kenya. A 5.1 mortality rate has been reported among patients admitted with severe malaria. Plasmodium falciparum is a species most frequently associated with severe malaria and accounts for 80 to 90% of cases in Kenya. Hilary Kabila, GBS News.
Thank you for that detailed report. And that ushers us to our topic tonight, mental health and maternal health care. Mental health is our emotional, psychological, and social well-being. It is a matter close to our hearts because it affects how we think, feel, and act. Not forgetting, maternal health refers to the health of women during pregnancy, childbirth, and postnatal period, equally important. Joining me virtually to have this conversation is Remy Vink, an expert in child health Netherlands, and of course I'm also joined by Jedida Bang, of course, in public health as well from Ghana. And of course, do keep engage us and tell us what are your opinions on the same. And now I'll just kickstart with, of course, the two doctors. Good evening, and how are you? Hope all is well.
Good evening.
Thank you so much. And maybe hoping all is well. Now let us just kickstart with the conversation tonight. Maybe from you, Dr. Jedida, just tell us how your evening is, and as you're doing that, talk to us about mental health. How can we distinguish a mentally healthy person from a mentally sick person, just for a person there who doesn't understand this?
I didn't hear the second part of the question very well. There's an echo on the line. How do you distinguish between someone with mental health issues and someone who has not? Well, it depends how you define mental health. If you're talking about really psychiatric disorders, then that's a different story. But a lot of people have depression, anxiety, so that is very common. And someone with depression can be very inward focused, or sometimes people get very aggressive. But the best thing is to ask someone, how are you doing? How are you feeling? So in that way, you can know if someone has a depression or not. So talk to people.
Thank you.
You cannot see it at the outside if someone is mentally healthy or not. It's in the brain, how you feel.
Thank you very much, Dr. Thank you very much, Doctor, as well. Now I'll go to Dr. Jedida as well. I'd like you to just come into this conversation, and I'll give you an example of here in Kenya. Last December, a 10-year-old boy killed himself in a village called Kimbigoti. And this, the grandmother says, was living with the boy. The boy seemed to be happy. Then how do we then see these signs? Are there any other things that we can associate to these mental illnesses?
Well, mental health is a very complex situation. Like Remy said, it is not something that you easily see. So you need a bit of awareness to be able to be able to identify that people really need some level of support when it comes to mental health interventions.
Thank you so much, Doctor, for that intel as well. And now back to you, Dr. Remy. I would like to address an issue that did happen. We did have the COVID-19. And now paint for us a picture. We did talk about how COVID-19 did lead to an increase in mental issues. But now, how did this, what was the impact of the pandemic on children mentally?
The impact was enormous because children could not go to school, so they could not play with their friends. And for children, it is very important to be with their peers. So they were not able to socialize. And also, children were more at home. So there was more violence in the homes as well. There was more domestic violence, more child abuse and neglect. So those were the two main problems. And of course, for children and also for adolescents, it was very hard for all of us, I think, but a lot for women and children was even more hard, I think.
Thank you. Now, just on the same, I'd like also to bring in Dr. Jedediah on this conversation as well, now that you have talked about children and how the pandemic did affect them. Now, we do know that they have mental issues coming from a place they have been on lockdown. We know the concentration of children is a bit lower than those of adults, so they easily get irritated by a lot of things. Then, can we say that teachers are empowered enough to recognize these mental issues, or what needs to be done?
Yeah, honestly, I think there's been a gap in the empowerment of most cadres of people that are supposed to be handling children. I don't think it's only teachers, even social workers, some healthcare providers, even at the lower level of the health system. I'm not sure are very well versed and are able and are empowered and capable enough to be able to handle issues of mental health. So I think we need to intensify our awareness creation and education and promotion of mental health wellness amongst the general population.
Yes, thank you so much, Doctor. Now back to Dr. Remy. How can we know that a child is exhibiting a type of trauma? Of course, we do know children do go through a lot. We have children who lose their parents at a young age. Those children are growing in divided families. How do we assess this and know and identify a trauma in a child?
Yes, young children can also be traumatized. Many times people think that children don't notice, but they do notice. They feel and they hear, so they also react to very overwhelming situations. And some children shut down, they withdraw. And other children are they tend to go more fighting, to become more aggressive. But younger children, for instance, they start bedwetting again. They never did that before, and suddenly they start bedwetting again, or nightmares. They cannot sleep, they have sleeping problems. And you can also see it if the behavior suddenly changes. So there are many symptoms that you can see in children when they are traumatized. Yes.
Thank you so much, Doctor. And of course, do keep the conversation coming in and tell us what are your opinion. Of course, the doctor has outlined some of the things that we are able to see when a child is traumatized. If the child was not wetting the bed before and they start doing it, those are just some of those symptoms that you can use to see. Now, Doctor, I would like to get back to you, Dr. Jedediah. We did talk about a lot when it comes to children. Let's now move into social media. Now, children are, from what we're getting from this century, that they are not getting attention from the parents, and now they are trying to get this attention from the social media. We have a case in Kenya of one Lawrence who did kill 4 of their family members, that is inclusive of the parents, and was inspired by a movie, can you imagine, called Killing Eve. What impact does this social media have, and what are the implications moving forward if it is not addressed?
Yes, social media has come to say it is something that has benefited us immensely, but it has its negative sides, it has its downsides. And one of the many downsides includes cyberbullying, extremism, just like you mentioned, a boy that watched I watched a movie, and then as a consequence of that, he killed a number of people. So if this is a pandemic staring us in the face, if we do not act about it, we don't do something about it, we need to fashion out very concrete measures on what we can do to be able to check the excesses of social media before it becomes a bigger problem for us.
Yes, and now, of course, back to you, Doctor, as well. Remy, you can talk a little bit on your opinion on social media. And of course, we do know that not all all homicides are caused due to these mental health issues. But then again, how do we match this together, the mental health? We have witnessed cases of mass murders from students and from many people, from family members. How do we match these two, mental health and the suicides and of course, mass murders?
That's a very complex matter because it's not usually not the behavior of one person that has a mental illness. There is a whole history in this one person or in this group of people. They have a history and they very much believe in that they are the ones that are right. That they are the ones that are the only ones that see the truth. So they get sort of brainwashed by their own ideas, and they just follow these ideas without thinking about the consequences. And yes, of course, some of these children are traumatized, probably. So they never learned in their lives how to deal with emotions. It is very important for young children to learn how to deal with emotions. I mean, emotions come and go. Sometimes it's bad, sometimes, and it gets better. If you have a mother or father, mostly the mother, who is there and comforts the child, then the child learns that it is okay to have emotions. So the attachment and the comfort from parents is very, very important, to be kind to your child and to comfort your child. Maybe these people didn't have good parents. Maybe they do have a little bit of mental illness, and then they have this peer pressure very much, and they go. It's really terrible if these things happen. Yeah.
Thank you so much. And maybe just Jedida, maybe you're familiar with this, but in Africa, a lot of people are not really onto their emotions and expressing how they feel, especially the male characters. But then again, you would expect, because they usually say that once a problem shared, it is half solved. You'd expect that women, because they talk a lot, they are the ones with the lesser problems when it comes to mental health. But the reverse is true. The men have lesser problems rather than women. What is happening?
Are you saying men have less problems than the women? I don't think it's true. Men have as much problems as women, but they have different problems. And the men are more used to showing their negative emotions, but it's more of, they find it more difficult to show their positive emotions and nurturing and caring and loving. And for women tend to, I am generalizing, but women tend to show their emotions by withdrawal. They become more quiet and more depressed. And women may be more used to sharing the positive or loving emotions with their children. But I do believe both men and women have the same amount of mental problems.
Thank you very much, Doctor. Now let's just dive in quickly to the conversation of maternal health. And we have here in Kenya about 5,583 live births, an average of 1,371 deaths occur per day. And of course, we also lose 64,500 children dying due to, of course, manageable maternal care problems. How bad is the situation when it comes to maternal mortality? Maybe you can just paint for us the picture, Dr. Jedida.
Yes, maternal as you rightly said, maternal mortality is an issue. It's especially in low and middle income settings. Maternal mortality, and there are a lot of factors around it. That includes access to care, access to quality care, access to delay in accessing healthcare due to a lot of socioeconomic and cultural undertones. So it is a multifaceted problem, especially in low and middle income countries.
Thank you. And now there is a lot to talk about when it comes to mental and maternal health issues, but due to time, I'd like us to wrap up this conversation. And starting from Dr. Remy, maybe you can give us your parting shot on the whole conversation.
I'm so sorry, I didn't hear your question very well. Can you repeat it?
Okay, I did say that there's a lot to talk about when it comes to mental health and maternal health as well. But due to time, you're going to have a wrap-up of this conversation. Maybe you can give us just a few minutes, your parting shot.
Yes, well, as I said, it's very important to start very early at a young age, to be kind for your child, not to beat your child, not to neglect your child. And of course, if you are poor, it is very difficult, but you can always connect to your family, to other people, and share your problems. As you said yourself, if you share your problems, it's half solved. And that is really, really true. It makes you feel better if you share your worries, if you connect with other people. And it's very important to learn this, to do this with our children as well. The children are our future, and their mental health is very important.
And maybe to you, Dr. Jedediah, just quickly sum up maybe your summary of the same and give you a parting shot as well.
Yes, I would say mental health is a community issue. It's something that affects all of us within the community space, and it is a collective effort that we need to put in place to be able to deal with the mental health pandemic we are facing right now.
Thank you so much, doctors, for joining us virtually. And of course, we do look forward to having more conversations on the same, and we do hope we can have a sit down and a continuation of the same as well. That was Dr. Jedediah Abanga, that is of the Public Health Ghana, and the other doctor was Remy Fink, that is of course Child Health Netherlands. And those, the conversation would not have been the same without them. And you can keep the conversation coming in through our SMS line 21144 and GBS TV Africa in all our social media handles. Moving forward, a 5-hour operation has brought hope to a middle-aged woman who has suffered fistula for over 30 years in Bamba area of Kilifi County. Shindano Kagota from Mikamini, a remote village that is 10 kilometers from Bamba town, is in drought-stricken Gez constituency, has given up living after sorrow, neglect and stigma due to the disease. Barbara with a report.
The number of patients with obstetric fistula who come to hospital is very, very low because they are stigmatized in the society and they are neglected.
For Shindano Kangota, what started as a happy marriage in her young adulthood age ended up as trauma as she got pregnant but underwent an operation at birth due to complications which ended up with her getting fistula.
So huyu ni mgonjwa ambaye amekaa kwa muda wa miaka 30 na hii shida. Sababu ujauzito wake wa kwanza ndio ulimletea hii shida na mtoto akaaga na kwa hivyo hana mtoto, anateseka na huyo mtoto hana.
Kagota is one of the many cases of women who suffer in silence at their homes with diseases which are curable but that communities believe are as a result of witchcraft. Philista Sauti, resident of Bamba, who rescued the woman, revealed that on November 12, 2022, she was helping victims of hunger in the drought-stricken Bamba through an initiative called Okoa Ganze, whereby she met Kangota depressed and weeping due to the conditions she was going through with no hope of living another day. In Kilifi, there was a medical camp going on, and on the 13th of December, Kangota managed to undergo surgery together with other 30 who had gynecology and fistula complications.
Anawahimiza tusiwatenge hawa wagonjwa. Magonjwa yamekuwa mengi na hawa watu wanahitaji usaidizi wetu. Kwa hivyo tukiwatenga, hata depression tayari inaweza wamaliza. Na pengine ni kitu, hii operation huyu ilimchukua less than 5 hours. Kwa hivyo ni masaa kidogo anarudi sawa. Lakini sasa tukiwatenga, hapo ndo tunafanya makosa. Afadhali uripoti kesi kama hii, peleka kwa chief. Niko na mgonjwa pale, chief atakuwa advise kile kitu ufanye.
Zipporah Kuria from Kenya Red Cross said the main goal of the project is to enhance the uptake of sexual reproductive health services in Kilifi County for women of reproductive age and to enhance gender-based violence outcomes. The surgical operation, she said, was meant to transform the life of women and change their lives for the better. Kangota is just one of the many cases of survivors who can help others come out and seek treatment instead of suffering silently at home. Reporting for GBS TV, I'm Barbara Gamba.
Once again, thank you for joining this live broadcast. And of course, do keep the comments coming in through our SMS line 21144 and GBS TV Africa in all our social media handles. Let's take our first break. We will be right back.
Welcome to Mahanaim International High School. Are you worried about the character of your child? Mahanaim is the best Christian and character building school and offer British National Curriculum, IGCSE O-Level and GCE A-Level, and mixed day and boarding school. For more inquiry, call 0710 111 333.
So my name is Eric Moura. Currently I'm doing camera operation. I would like to say that IOF is very important because one of the things I've gotten a chance to learn a lot through camera operations. I've also gotten a chance to host one of the shows known as SportsZoom. So IOF is very good because even camera operations, I did not know there are different types of cameras. I did not know how to operate a camera, but through IOF, I gotten a chance to know all this. Thank you.
everywhere. GBS.
Welcome back. You're still watching GBS News at 9. And now to continue with the bulletin, military jets had late yesterday afternoon started hovering over parts of the troubled northern Rift Valley, signaling the arrival of Kenya Defense Forces troops. This comes after President Ruto's request to send the army to the salvage situation. Mark Anthony with a report.
The soldiers have been assigned to execute what has been described as a painful but decisive operation to rid the region of criminals behind the banditry menace. While the decision has been welcomed by many, some residents, particularly in Baringo, were seen fleeing their homes, fearing harassment during the joint exercise that will be carried out by KDF and police officers. Inspector General of Police Japheth Koome landed at the anti-stock theft unit base in Turkana amid tight security. A day after, President William Ruto ordered the KDF to move in and restore order in the disturbed region. The Inspector General said that military forces were joining the multi-agency team that has been conducting a major security operation in Kainuk, near the border of Turkana and West Pokot, which will now be extended to all parts declared disturbed and dangerous areas. At least 2 army jets were spotted in Kainuk, where many people have been killed by bandits, including police officers. A spot check revealed intensified security patrol by officers in armored personnel carriers and land cruisers on the Kainuk-Kaong road. According to a number of sources, armed bandits have infiltrated villages in Turkana South Sub-County, including Longoron, Amolem, Lachakula, and Loyapat, staging attacks targeting motorists along the Kapenguria-Lodwar Highway. The deployment of armed forces comes after CS Kindiki's declaration of the entire North Rift as a troubled area. Reporting for GBS TV, I am Mark Anthony.
Opposition leader Raila Odinga on Wednesday met with senators allied to the Azimio coalition at Pan-Africa Hotel for a luncheon in Nairobi. The leader has some cordial discussion with the senators on key issues affecting the coalition. Key among them the restructuring of the roles of the minority leader and the minority whip in the House of the Senate. Seta Emmanuel with the full report.
This was a luncheon that I hosted to welcome these senators. As you know, recently we had a retreat in Manzoni with our members of the National Assembly.
Opposition leader Raila Odinga on Wednesday met with senators allied to the Azimio coalition at Pan-Africa Hotel in Nairobi. The leader had some cordial discussion with the senators on key issues affecting the coalition, key among them the restructuring of the roles of the minority leader and minority whip in the House of the Senate. Stewart Mazayo was named the new majority leader and was being deputized by Senator Enoch Wambua from Kitui. The majority whip seat was then given to Senator Ledama Olekina and his role being deputized by Nairobi Senator Edwin Sifuna. Odinga noted that the new roles were influenced mainly by the move by the previous leaders who he claims opted to work with the majority side in the Senate.
I'm happy to announce that our leadership in the Senate is now the leader. The minority leader is Honorable Stewart Mazayo, deputed by Honorable Senator Enoch Wambua from Kitui, and the whip is Honorable Ledama Olekina, deputized by Honorable Edwin Sifuna. This is because some officials who were there before have opted to now work with the majority party in the Senate. And we want to be very focused. So I've asked our team to continue to represent Azimio effectively in the House.
Odinga also gave his remarks on the issue of electoral justice, an issue he noted will not be forgotten until it is properly resolved.
We have also talked about the challenges that this country is facing today, the issue of electoral justice that we have been talking about. And this is not an issue that is going to die until it is properly resolved.
The opposition leader has retained his stand that the 9th August general election were rigged. He insisted that the Supreme Court denied them access to the IEBC server, a move that prompted them to seek experts that access the servers and expose the information.
We have shown beyond any doubt that the elections were rigged. Other people have raised the issues that why did you raise these issues in the Supreme Court? The same Supreme Court denied us access to the server. We have ourselves been able to hire experts and get to the server. And we have exposed the information.
He further outlined that they will hold their next rally in Kisii on Friday, followed by Kisumu on Saturday, and also hold a prayer for the Independence Electoral and Boundaries Commission, noting that the event will be done at the IEBC premises on a day to be communicated next week.
This week, we are going to be in Kisii on Friday. On Saturday, we are going to be in Kisumu. We will also be doing a prayer for the IEBC, that we have and get an IEBC which will defend the right of our people. And that prayer will be done in front of the premises of IEBC.
Sete Emmanuel, GBS TV News, Nairobi.
Moving forward, as the world colored red during the Valentine celebration, the inmates at the Narok GK prison also got a rare show of love after brethren from various denominations visited them to share snacks and other sanitary materials. The prisoners had a chance to display their talents as they entertained guests who had come from different parts of the country to celebrate with them. According to Pastor Helen Wanjiru, who led a team from Nairobi, they were celebrating the Love Day with the prisoners as they believe that they too deserve to be loved and appreciated like any other person. Here are the details.
It was all fun and laughter at the Narok GK prison, and a rare show of love after brethren from various denominations visited them during the Valentine's Day celebration. As the day is characterized by gifting loved ones, the inmates were not left out as they received sanitary materials and snacks which they shared among themselves. According to Pastor Helen Wanjiru, who led a team from Nairobi, they were celebrating the Love Day with the prisoners as they believed that they too deserve to be loved and appreciated like any other person, and encouraged at the faith-based organization to visit the inmates to encourage them as they share with them the word of God.
Juni Valentine, nikuje nisherekee na wao wafungwa kwa sababu nimekuja kujua sio kupenda kwao maisha haya. Wakipendwa ni rahisi kubadilika. Siku ingine ukisikia sikukuu, kuja kaa na wao wasikize, ni wazuri, wamebadilika kabisa, wamebadilika na wengi wao ni innocent, so wakiona wazazi wamekuja wanasikia wako nyumbani.
Narok GK prison in charge Benson Lomeri expressed his gratitude to the religious group for celebrating the big day with the inmates. Lomeri, however, decried the increasing population at the prison against the limited resources, asking the government through the power of mercy to decongest, as the previous year there were a total of 500 inmates, but currently the population has risen to 700.
Tumefurahi leo, tumesherekea siku ya Valentine na tunashukuru wafadhili wenye wametuletea soda, letewa vitu mingi ya kuwezesha wateja wetu kusherekea siku hii. Ile challenge kubwa hapa ni wafungwa wamekuwa wengi, na ningeomba tu serikali kwamba waweze kusamea wenye wako na kifungo ndogo ndogo, kwa sababu mwaka jana tulikuwa watu 500, sasa hivi tuko na 750. So population imekuwa kubwa.
Samuel Sadore, an inmate at the Narok GK prison, could not hide his joy as he thanked the government and visitors for allowing them to celebrate the Valentine's Day. He also pleaded with the government to allow those who have served long sentences to be released from prison as it is overcrowded, making some of his colleagues sleep in the toilet rooms.
Tumefurahi kwa ajili ya siku ya leo, maana ni siku ambayo inakuja mara moja kwa mwaka. Tunashukuru
maana tumeweza kusherehekea, serikali imetupa ruhusa. Tunasema pia shukrani wale ambao wameweza kuja kututembelea. Ningeomba rais apate kutukumbuka, maana wengi tumekaa katika gereza hili, wengine wamekaa zaidi ya miaka 20, wengine zaidi ya miaka 10, wengine zaidi ya miaka 5. Tena gereza hili limejaa, watu wanalala mpaka ndani ya choo. Hata ningependa Rais William Ruto apate kutukumbuka.
In certain cultures, Valentine's Day is to celebrate love among friends and family members rather than romantic partners. Some customs involve leaving candy and gifts for kids, while others involve people showing each other thanks. With millions of Valentine's Day cards being exchanged each year, Valentine's Day is most frequently linked with romantic love, couples spending special time together, and gifts of flowers are delivered along with romantic words to loved ones. Reporting for GBS News, I am James Odhiambo.
Indeed, that was a Valentine's Day well spent. And that ushers us to our international news. But first, let us take a quick commercial break.
Welcome to Mahanaim International High School. Are you worried about the character of your child? Mahanaim is the best Christian and character building school and offer British National Curriculum, IGCSE O-Level and GCE A-Level, and mixed day and boarding school. For more inquiry, call 0710 111 333.
Nakukaribisha tena katika makao makuu yako katika ulimwengu wa michezo.
Yoga is not a sport. Yoga is actually a way of life.
Ukiona FIFA inaingilia kati, it means that the FIFA rules have been violated.
From day one akiingia kwa akademi yako, unamwambia masomo na talent lazima ziende. The moment unasikia masomo imeenda hivi chini, hata time out kwa football na kando.
Wanawake ni wengi actually mpaka saa hizi. Tumekaa ni kama tumekuwa wanawake wamekuwa wengi kuliko wanaume.
Kuna wale ambao ni artistic. Yes, wanapenda mambo ya kuigiza.
I am coded to look for solutions.
You limit yourself, not the sport doesn't limit you.
We say a dedicated women-only show that focuses only on women.
Academy is one of the activities of IYF. IYF being an NGO focused on the empowerment of the youth, we have various activities. So one of the program now is the IYF Weekend Academy. It started way back in the year 2009. And through this, we want to empower the youth with the soft skills that are necessary for their growth. So we prepare various academies, various programs so that they can be able to be nurtured in terms of the soft skill that's needed. We say we supplement what education is doing. Education is teaching them the knowledge part of it, but for us in the Weekend Academy, we want to give that platform where they can be able to now practice what they have learned.
So my name is Eric Maura. Currently I'm doing camera operation. IYF is very important because one of the things I've gotten a chance to learn a lot through camera operation. I've also gotten a chance to host one of the shows known as SportZoom. So IYF is very good because even camera operation, I did not know there are different types of cameras. I did not know how to operate a camera. But through IYF, I gotten a chance to know all this.
The IYF Weekend Academy teacher for the camera operations. It has been a nice experience seeing young men coming, learning things to do with filming, and also bringing out the passion that lays underneath. Then I'm very much happy because I know and I believe that soon they will also make a living out of it.
Everywhere, GBS.
Welcome back. And to international news, Nigeria is going to hold her 2023 election on the 25th of February to elect the president and vice president of Nigeria. Incumbent APC President Muhammadu Buhari is term limited and cannot seek re-election for a third term. A total of 18 candidates are going to contest for the presidential elections. The African Union has set the former president of Kenya, Uhuru Kenyatta, to observe the upcoming Nigerian elections. Here's the report.
Africa's most populous country, Nigeria, will head to the polls to select their next president amid mounting unhappiness in the country due to worsening insecurity and economic hardship. Will any of the front runners, most of whom have been in the political system for decades, be able to turn the country around?
The reason is that we all know how Nigeria is now, and we want a better Nigeria. We want a better country. We want the young people to, as we should have our own stand in this country. We all pray for peaceful election, so that's what we pray for. So we don't pray for maybe riot or any other thing, or maybe bomb blast. So we pray for peaceful election.
Imagine a 39 years old that there's no change. We just graduated from school, doing all kind of job, but this time around, I think we'll vote the right party.
The president of Nigeria is elected using a modified two-round system. To be elected in the first round, a candidate must receive a plurality of the vote and over 25% of the vote in at least 24 of the 36 states. If no candidate passes this threshold, a second round will be held between the top candidate and the next candidate to have received a majority of vote in the highest number of the states. After the first term of Muhammadu Buhari as the president, he won re-election to the office as the nominee of the All Progressive Congress by defeating Atiku Abubakar of the People's Democratic Party with a margin of 14% points, nearly 4 million votes. A total number of 93.4 million votes have registered so far. The Nigerian youth are expected to play a big role in terms of choosing the best leader this time, since they make up to about 7 million. The different voices all over the country have dared to choose the right and perfect leader this time around.
Everything is expensive. People are suffering. So we just need a good leader for Nigeria.
When you're walking on the streets, you see so many beggars and everything. You see graduates walking where they're not even supposed to be.
They expected to have a leader who will provide them with better economic, good employment opportunities in the country, and improve the country's poor security with Boko Haram threatening always. Lino Lunjok, GBS News.
And now to other international news. Turkish President Tayyip Erdogan said on Tuesday enforcement of stricter building regulations was needed in the country after a powerful earthquake that rocked southern Turkey last week, killing tens of thousands of people. Lino with a report.
The Turkish president said that the collapsed building reminded the government of the need for stricter construction rules, in a televised speech adding that his government will continue to work until the last person was rescued from the rains in the quake-hit area. He promised the citizens that all buildings heavily damaged by the huge earthquake last week and swiftly started a mammoth reconstruction effort, with the thousands of families struggling to survive amid the rubble and freezing conditions.
The fact that 98% of the buildings that collapsed in the disaster are the ones that were built before 1999 shows us the progress we made in the standardization of buildings and inspections, but it also reminds us that we need to be stricter.
Rescuers who flew in to save people trapped in the debris were starting to pack, although one woman was pulled out of a collapsed building on Wednesday after being buried for many hours. In neighboring Syria, opposition held northwest, already suffering from more than a decade of bombardment. The earthquake left many fending for themselves amid the rubble, with aid slowed by the complex politics of humanitarian assistance there. The combined death toll in the two countries has climbed over 41,000, and millions are in need of humanitarian aid, with many survivors having been left homeless in near freezing winter temperatures.
temperatures, rescuers are now few and far between. Lino Lunjok, GBS News.
It is very, very sad indeed what Turkey is going through, and of course we do hope those that do not have places to stay, the issue is addressed, and well-wishers can send their help. And of course we do send our condolences to those that did lose, their families that are affected, to their family members losing their lives in the situation as well. And now for the lovers of sport, it is the time for your most anticipated part of the news. It is time for Sports News. TK Kabaddi Club secured a hard-earned victory over KU Hawks today on the Men's Kabaddi League held at Kasarani Indoor Arena early today. TK raided Simon Kibura, who is the first African to play Kabaddi in the Pro Kabaddi League in India, was the man of the match as he scored important points for his side today. McDonald with the full report.
Men's Kabaddi Season 1 League continued today at Kasarani Indoors Arena with Tak Kabaddi Club facing KU Hawks. The game was tough for both sides, with both teams seeking a place in the league table. Tak, who earlier stood at the 4th place, are now on the 2nd place after a hand-earned victory of 67-51 over KU Hawks. Speaking after the match, Simon Kibura, a Kenyan-Indian-based player who was the first African to play Kabaddi in the Pro Kabaddi League in India, termed today's match as tough, and the opponent were not an easy task to face.
Kwa majina, mimi naitwa Simon Maina Kibura. Mimi ni mchezaji wa hii club ya Tak Kabaddi Club. Mchezo umekuwa mgumu sana kwa maana tumekuwa tukicheza na one of the best teams zenye ziko hapa hivi kwa ligi yenye ni KU Hawks. Wale vijana watu wamejitolea, watu wanajituma, watu wanacheza vizuri, na pia wako na mchezaji mmoja mwenye ako na umaarufu, ako na experience iko juu kuliko wale wachezaji wengine wenye kwa hii ligi yote.
He termed Kabaddi as a game to develop in Kenya in coming years, since Kenya has potential and resources compared to other countries and an able government that is capable of supporting the league.
Kulingana na hii ligi venye imesetiwa na Madam Laventa Uguta, tuna target kuwa Kenya itakuwa na one of the best leagues in Africa and also one of the best leagues in the world, kwa sababu apart from Pro Kabaddi League hakuna ligi ingine yenye iko na maarufu sana huko. Sisi hapa Kenya tuko na resource ya players, tuko na resource ya kampuni, institutions, pia government yetu pia kuna vile ikichip in, itakuwa ni Kabaddi, itakuwa ni mchezo wenye mavijana wote wanataka kuja kukimbilia. Na maybe perhaps itapita sports zenye saizi zina umaarufu sana hapa Kenya, itazipita na maybe tutakuwa mahali pazuri.
He termed Kabaddi League as important in Kenya since it will help in classification of players in their categories in the outside Pro Kabaddi League in India.
Nashukuru Mwenyezi Mungu kwa sababu ya kutuletea hii ligi hapa hivi Kenya, yenye itatuinua na pia itainua mavijana wengi sana kutoka kwa mtaa na kuingia kwa zile ligi zenye ziko juu, na pia itatusaidia sana katika classification ya players category A, B na C huko nje kwa ile ligi kubwa sana ya Pro Kabaddi League. So wachezaji class na finest players watatoka kwa hii ligi.
Reporting for GBS TV, I'm McDonald.
And now to international sports news. Graham Potter will have to deploy a different defense line today as his key defenders miss in the 25-man squad, as Chelsea will be hosted by Borussia Dortmund at Signal Iduna Park today. UEFA rules state that only 3 new signings in a club are eligible to play in the Champions League, and most of Chelsea key signings left out the squad. On the other hand, Ruben Dias of the AC Milan gave the Italian club a narrow win over Spurs yesterday, and PSG PSG lost at home over Bayern Munich despite their dreadful performance on the second half of when Mbappe 2 goals were ruled offside by the VAR. McDonald with the report.
Bayern Munich once again produced a dreadful performance over PSG at Parc des Princes yesterday. Former PSG Kingsley Coman scored once again for the German side on the 53rd minute, since it was the same Frenchman who scored against them 3 years ago on the Champions League final. Bayern Munich dominated in the first half but did not find the net, with PSG defenders having a hard time to stop the well-organized attacks from the German side. PSG came back in the second half, with Mbappe coming on as a substitute, scoring 2 goals which were ruled offside by the VAR. Bayern Munich held on to ensure they take an advantage to PSG for the reverse fixture, even with Benjamin Pavard sent off after a second yellow card. Tottenham Hotspurs will have to produce a Champions League comeback after Brahim Diaz gave AS Milan a narrow win at San Siro on the 7th minute of the first leg of the 16th tie. Antonio Conte's side looked relatively comfortable for long periods of time of the 7-time European champions. Spurs end a bad weekend as they lost 4-1 to Leicester and were looking to win their first leg of their 16th tie. Prior to last Friday's victory over Torino, Stefano Pioli's side endured a miserable start to 2023, picking up just 2 points from possible 15 and slipping to 5th in Serie A. Chelsea manager Graham Potter will deploy another defensive line as Benoit Badiashile ineligible to play in the Champions League after being left in the 25-man squad that will face Borussia Dortmund today at Signal Iduna Park. Chelsea have not been on form lately, with the last match recording a draw against West Ham. They will have a hand task today to stop the German side who are on form on the Bundesliga. On the other hand, Benfica will face Club Brugge at Jan Breydel Stadium. Reporting for GBS TV, I'm McDonald.
Thank you, McDonald, for that detailed report, and that marks the end of our news segment tonight. And of course, do remember, here at GBS News at 9, we make your news our business. My name is Beatrice Njeri. Our sign language interpreter is Paul Mathenke. And have yourself a good night.
Everyone.